Hey guys, today I'm filming a really fun video. This is going to be a full face talk through tutorial showing you guys the makeup I used on my wedding day. I did get married on Saturday, October 15th, and I did decide to do my own makeup. And the main reason for that is because I'm really particular. I was kind of afraid how it might turn out if someone else did it. And also I didn't want to pay for it. So way back in February, I went to find my wedding dress and I absolutely fell in love with the makeup look I wore that day, and I did tweak it a little bit for this tutorial, but that was the very first time I had used this lip color and I thought it looked perfect. So because I was so in love with my dress and the makeup look back in February, I decided that I wanted to do that on my wedding day. If you guys would like to see all the details of the makeup that I wore on my wedding day, then just keep watching. So I did a couple extra steps that I don't normally do just to try to make my makeup last longer, and one of those steps would definitely be using my Skindinavia sprays. Honestly, I'm not sure if these help prolong the wear of my makeup or not, but I wanted to do those extra steps just in case. So first I have the Skindinavia makeup primer spray. This is the oil control version. So spray that all over, give it a minute to set. Then I went in with the Lorac Porefection mattifying face primer and I apply this all over as well. This is more of that really slippery smooth base, which just helps my makeup glide on a lot easier. Then I will be using the Smashbox Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Primer to fill up my large pores as well as the wrinkles in my forehead. And I just press this into the pores on the sides of my nose and then smooth it over going towards the outside of my face. For foundation, I used my trusty combination of the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade 1W1 Bone and the Hard Candy Glamoflague in the shade Porcelain. And I'm just gonna mix these on my little Cosmo Cube mixing palette. So I take one full pump of the Estee Lauder, and then I take a pump of the Hard Candy Glamoflague. And then I mix this together and I apply it to one side of my face. And all of this is enough to cover half of my face, and then I will make the same mixture for the other half. Now I'm going to blend that out with the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. Depending on the foundation that I use, I either like a brush or a sponge, but with this combo I love using a sponge. And I'm just going to press the foundation into my skin. I love using a sponge because it is such a quick way to blend out my foundation, and it helps it look more seamless and airbrushed. So now that I have one layer on this side of my face, I'm going to go in with a little bit of extra and apply it in some certain areas like my cheeks, my jawline, and then whatever's left on my forehead. So here is 1.5 pumps of foundation on this side of my face. I think this just gives really great coverage. It has a really nice finish and it matches my skin really well. So I'm going to do the same on this side. Moving on to concealer for blemishes, I used my MAC ProLongwear in the shade NC15. And if you put a really small amount of pressure on this and go really slow, you can get a really tiny amount of product. I know some people have trouble with it, but I never do as long as you just put the right amount of pressure on it. And just placing this on my larger acne spots that need some more coverage. I was breaking out pretty bad on my wedding day, but this concealer does a really great job for me, and it is a perfect match. So I'm gonna let the blemish concealer set for a little bit and then I will blend it out. But I'm gonna move on to under eye concealer. I am using a combination right under the eye. I'm using my Boo Boo Cover Up Concealer in Light to conceal and correct. And then I'm using the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer in Fair Neutral and an upside down triangle right underneath of this one to help brighten. And I'm going to blend that out with the Real Techniques little mini sponge. This is to use on the under eye. I think it's called a mini eraser, but I've just been using this for concealer and under eye setting powder. And I am taking this flat side here, similar to the Real Techniques larger sponge, and I'm going to use this to blend out my under eye concealer. And this tip goes right up against the lower lash line, which is fantastic. I actually really do enjoy this sponge. I've only been using it for a couple days, but I do like it. And then just doing the same on the other side. Next Next, I'll be setting my under eyes with my Nye Cameo Powder. I have it in a different container, and I'm going to use the pointed side of this Real Techniques mini sponge. And this does a great job of getting right up under the eye and into the inner corner to set my concealer. I am just really enjoying this sponge so far. So now taking this precision flat angled brush from RC Cosmetics, and I will be blending out my blemish concealer. I actually forgot to do this before I set my under eye. That's usually what I will do, so this has some time to set a little bit but not dry completely. You don't want it to dry completely because then it's hard to blend the edges. But I think this brush is perfect for blending out blemish concealer because it helps keep the coverage. Whenever I blend out my blemish concealer with a sponge, it tends to shear it out. So next I'm going to be setting my face with the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat Powder Foundation. I actually have 2 shades, and that really just depended on my foundation mixture, and I went in with both of the shades to make sure my foundation wasn't too light or too dark. So the first shade I have is Ivory, which is the lightest shade. And then I also have the shade Nude, which is about a shade darker. Here the shades are side by side. This is Ivory and this is Nude. And I'm going to be applying that with my Real Techniques powder brush just to help set, give a little bit of coverage, but not to look too cakey. And first I go in with Ivory to set that base powder, and then I will go over top of that with a little bit of Nude. And then going over with a little bit of Nude just to make sure that our face doesn't look too light. Now moving on to cheeks. For bronzer, I used Benefit's Hoola, and I applied it with my e.l.f. stippling brush. So I just swirl the brush in the powder, tap off the excess, then I go straight into the hollow of the cheek. Then I move up towards my hairline, back down towards my cheek, and then hit my jaw. I like to start right under my cheekbone, so that's where I have the most concentrated product. The reason I chose Benefit Hoola is that it is a more neutral tone bronzer, and it pairs well with my more cool tone contour and blush. Doing the same on the other side, first going into hollow of the cheek, then right up around the hairline, back to the cheek, and then the jawline. I never really applied too much on the jaw because it can look really harsh on me. Next for contour, I'm going to be using the NYX Blush in Taupe in my Sigma F05 small contour brush. This is my favorite cool tone contour, and it is just one of my go-tos. So starting in the hollow of the cheeks, just blending back and forth. I would not recommend putting this product up along the hairline because it will pull a little too gray and look unnatural in my opinion. Then for blush, I'm using the Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush in Exposed and applying it with this Walmart HD Angled Blush Brush. And I am just going to be applying this on the back of my cheeks, taking whatever is left towards the apple. Doing the same on the other side. And I actually did not wear any highlighter on my wedding day. I know some of you guys are gasping, and maybe I should have, but I think everything turned out okay without it. I honestly just didn't have any more room in my makeup bag, and I didn't feel like it was essential. So now I'm gonna blend out my cheek products with my Real Techniques blush brush. So that is all for the face. I'm going to zoom you in for the brows and the eyes. For the brows, I will be speeding through it because I'm going to have an updated brow routine for you guys soon. I know you have been asking for it, and my brows definitely take some time to get them to look even, so let's jump into that. So first for brows, I'm just taking my Sonia Kashuk Spoolie to brush out my brows, getting all the hairs going in the same direction. Next, I'll be taking my NYX Eyebrow Shaper Wax Pencil, and I will be going right over my brows. And then just a little bit on my skin in front of my brows. And then I'm going to comb that out with a brow comb. This is a really old one from the brand Flirt, which used to be sold at Kohl's, but basically every brand makes these. I know Real Techniques does. And theirs is metal. For brow pencil, I'm using my NYX Micro Brow in the shade Taupe, my favorite brow pencil. And I like to start by underlining my eyebrows. And I go from inner to outer. And then I go and fill in the tail. And then I move from the outer to the inner part and just line the top. The tricky part comes in the front. I will start to draw this, but I will wait to finish it until I've done this brow so I can evenly match them up. So I'm going to bring it in a little bit so it meets the outer part of my nose. And I like to square my brows off. I know that these style of brows can be really harsh and unnatural, but this is how I like to fill in my brows. So then I'm going to take a little bit of pencil and run through the center, just a small bit. Next, I'm going in with powder. So I'm taking the Lorac Take a Brow Kit in the shade Blonde. I will be using the lightest shade with my Sigma E75 angled eyebrow brush. And I'm just going to go right over top of all of that pencil to help set it in place and help it be even more intense. And I also use this to fill in the middle of the brow. Because my brows are pretty thick, I don't need a ton of pencil in the center, so I use the powder to help fill in any gaps. And I'm dipping back several times, but I'm only picking up a little bit at a time so nothing gets too harsh too quick. Next, I'm going to highlight under my brow using the NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk and the e.l.f. Professional Concealer Brush. And I am just digging in here. And I'm going to apply this right under my brow to use this as a highlight. This step is not necessary, but this is a product I'm trying to use up completely. And this is how I'm finishing it. And Milk is a straight up matte white, so this will definitely not work for all skin tones. But this does work for extremely fair skin tones. And then I just blend it out with my finger. And then I set my brows in place with my Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. They say this is like hairspray for the brows, and I definitely would agree. This has a really fantastic hold. So here's a naked brow versus a completed brow. I'm gonna finish this one and I'll be back for the eye makeup. So now that both brows are done, I'm going to move on to eyes. I'll be using the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion, and I am going to apply this from lash line to brow bone. I'll be setting my crease and brow bone with the Wet n Wild Single Shadow in Brulee and the Wet n Wild Crease Brush, and I will not be setting the lid. Moving into the eyeshadow, I'll be taking the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette and this shade Limit right here, applying it as my transition color using my Sigma E40 Taper Blending Brush. So I will just be applying this in my crease area, blending back and forth. This is a little bit of a messy step. Then I'm going to take my e.l.f. Glitter Primer and I'm going to apply this onto my lid. And this is a really great sticky base for any shadows that have a ton of fallout or for pigments or glitters. On my lid, I will be applying the ColourPop shadow in Amaze, and I will apply it with this little sponge tip applicator. And I will be applying this directly on the lid, and I am going to press it on top of that glitter base to help get the most intensity and the least amount of fallout. And I am making this go up to the crease, but not into the crease. And then I'm going to take my finger and go on top to intensify the color. Going back into the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, I'm going to take the shade Nooner with my MAC 286 Duo Fiber Tapered Blending Brush, and I'm going to apply this in my crease and outer corner, and just focusing this on the outer part of the eye, and then blending it towards the center. Next, I'm going to take Nooner with my Sigma E25 Blending Brush, apply this on the outer part of my crease, and then taking the shade Limit with the E25 Blending Brush and applying it on the inner part of the crease. So applying Nooner in the outer part to intensify and deepen. And then taking Limit on the inner part just to give a nice gradient of color. And then I'm going to go back with Limit and my E40 taper blending brush to reapply that transition color and help blend out the crease. And just blending around the edges. I will be using Strange as a brow bone highlight and applying it with my Sigma E45 small tapered blending brush. I'll be applying this right under my brow bone to highlight. So that is all for eyeshadow. For eyeliner and mascara, I'm going to show you what I use, but I'll be doing it off camera because I just cannot do my eyeliner on camera. I use the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner, the Dolce & Gabbana Passion Eyes Mascara, Tarte Lights Camera Lashes Mascara, and the Clinique High Impact Mascara. So now all the eye makeup is complete. I decided not to wear false lashes on my wedding. I tried to apply some and I had a really hard time. My eyes are such a weird shape and I have very little experience with false lashes. Also, the ones I tried were Kiss Natural Lashes and they touched my eyebrow. I just don't have a very big eye area and I would love some tips for you guys or some suggestions from you guys about eyelashes that would work well for smaller eyes and smaller eye areas. And yeah, those just did not work for me, which is fine. I just applied a couple extra coats of mascara and I think it worked better anyway, because if I would have had those lashes on, it would have completely covered up my eyeshadow. So I am okay with just using mascara, but I did try false lashes and they didn't work. So for lips, I have a combo of a lip liner and a liquid lipstick. For lip liner, I'm using the ColourPop Lippy Pencil and Razor. This was discontinued and you could definitely substitute this with the shade Bound. And I just use this to outline my lips. I'm going to fill in my lips completely with the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Lovesick. I absolutely love this liquid lipstick. On my skin tone, it is just a dusty purpley pink. It doesn't pull too bright or too mauvey brown. I absolutely love this color and it is a really nice formula. I do have to say that after the ceremony and the pictures, my lips did start to get dry, and because I knew we were about to eat and it was probably going to break up, I did just go ahead and remove it at that point. And the final step is using the Skindinavia Makeup Finishing Spray, the oil control version, just shaking it up and then applying it in an X and a T. And like I said, I'm not sure if these sprays even did a whole lot, but I wanted to do whatever I could to make this makeup last. And I am really impressed because it did. My makeup did rub off on my nose because I had been crying during the ceremony and I had to wipe my nose a little bit. But other than that, it held up really, really well considering that I wore my makeup for like 10 hours. I was so impressed that the face makeup did not break down. So I really, really was happy with this makeup look and I'm really glad I chose all the products that I did. So I would love to know your all's experience with your wedding makeup, whether you did it yourself, whether you had it done, what tips and tricks, what favorite product recommendations that you have. I definitely will have more wedding videos coming. I wanted to put up this one first and then I plan on maybe doing a slideshow of all of our pictures with our song playing to it, and then I want to do just a talk session with you guys, giving you all the information on the venue, the food, my dress, anything you guys may want to know. So if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comment section of this video so I will make sure to include them in those future wedding videos. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.